You all are taking pedology at a little bit of an interesting time. So for decades, this class, SOIL 454, pedology class at the U of I, was taught by a man named Maynard Fosberg, who started teaching here in 1949, 1950 maybe, and he was a pedologist. He created the soil monolith collection that maybe you guys are familiar with from the Ag Science building. If you took your intro soils class here, you probably worked a lot with all these soil monoliths, these preserved soil profiles that line the walls of the hallway and the lab. Maynard Fosberg was the guy that created pretty much all of those. He had a really long, extended career, successful here at the U of I, retired in 1989. Then shortly after that, we hired another pedologist. His name was Paul McDaniel. He taught this class. He continued on the legacy. He's pretty famous, pretty world-renowned pedologist. We will get a chance to talk more about Paul's contributions and all the great stuff that Paul did as the pedologist at the U of I. And get to know him more as the semester goes on. But then he retired in around 2017 or 2018. After that, this pedology class was taught by our department head. Her name was Jody. She was a fantastic soil scientist, but not truly a pedologist. She just kind of taught this class in the meantime, and with the hopes of hiring another permanent pedology professor, but that never really happened. Never really happened until Jody got promoted. She took a new job at the University of Georgia 2 or 3 years ago now, and then we lost our backup pedology instructor. And then I came in. I'm a grad student. I'm not a professor. I don't have a PhD. You don't have to call me doctor or professor or anything. You can just call me Paul, because I'm a grad student. I was pedology's TA under Jody for 2 or 3 years. And then here I was as a relatively new PhD student. I completed my master's here at the U of I, stayed to do a PhD, and I found myself teaching this class, lecture and lab, as a grad student myself. So does that make me the third string pedology instructor? Am I maybe the least qualified person in the department you can be taking a class from? Some people might say that. I would say no. I am the most qualified instructor in the soils department because I love this. I love pedology, I love soil science, and I love teaching. I look around at all the other professors teaching class. I took one just last semester, or last fall semester, and didn't enjoy it very much because it was very clearly what the professor did because they had to. And it was not the part of their job that they liked. They were their researcher, their professor, they could barely be bothered to I don't know, care about the classroom product that they were putting together. But pedology, on the other hand, is like my whole life. I think about all the opportunities that soil science and specifically pedology has given me, all the places I've been, the people I've met, all the wonderful, like, what pedology has given to me in my life. And now here I am in the position to share it with you guys for a whole entire semester. I talk to you 2 times a week about it. I take you out in the field and I can show you what I love so much about soil and soil profiles. I love this so much. This is what I want to do for my career. And this is the best possible experience I can be accumulating here as a grad student, is teaching you this class. So I'm really thankful for this opportunity. My passion is my #1 qualification, but I do have some tangible ones as well. Like I mentioned, I was the TA for this class. I sat through all the lectures when the actual soil science PhD was teaching it. I coach the U of I soil judging team, which we have a couple members of in this class right here. We do this kind of soil description competitively against other schools, and we've enjoyed some recent success, including last spring. For the first time in the U of I history, we became national champions. Thank you, Brian. We are the national champion soil judging team. So if that's not worth anything, I'm not sure what is necessarily. I don't expect you guys to love soil as much as I do. You know, it's really easy for me to say because I am a soil scientist. You guys are coming in from a wide range of backgrounds. I don't expect you to love soil as much as I do, but I do expect you to be curious about how soil can help you in your career, how the knowledge of soil formation and soil properties will impact your professional lives, maybe your personal lives too, the way you perceive and you can learn about the world around you through soil, something I'm really excited about. If you could be curious how words like oxyaquic udivitrand can go from sounding like complete nonsense to telling you pretty much everything you need to know about a soil profile. You can be curious about how these skills that we develop on our soil pit field trips and by learning about the way we classify and talk about soils will help you in your careers, help you get hired. I'm going to stay in my lane. I am a grad student. I'm an early career instructor, but it's just so hard for me not to get really, really excited about pedology. So those are my reasons to be excited about pedology. Some reasons I hope you guys can be excited about pedology or things we have to look forward to include that together we will become familiar with the types of soil in Idaho, US, and a little bit around the world, but we're going to primarily focus on what we have here in North Idaho and what we can actually see on our lab field trips. We're going to make thorough and technically accurate descriptions of soil profiles in the field. One of the main takeaways, tangible takeaways for you guys, I would say. We want to develop an understanding of the relationships and feedbacks between soils and their environments to become soil scientists everywhere you go in the world, how you can apply what you learn here in this class to what you will see out there in the world. Interpreting how soils form and the patterns in which they occur on landscapes. Can you read the landscape, learn about its history, its present, and maybe perhaps its future? Can you be able to make some reasonable estimates of soil chemical and physical properties from the field observations? And have a working knowledge of soil taxonomy, like the language that we use to classify soil profiles, specifically in the US. Maybe we'll dabble a little bit. We'll talk about how other countries and other global soil scientists talk about their soils. But soil taxonomy will be our main focus. Okay, so those were pretty much our learning objectives from the syllabus, a little more syllabus content as we get started here. I am located, when I'm not standing up here, in the Ag Science Building, room 149. It's a grad student's office. It's not very far away from the teaching lab where you would have had maybe your intro soils class before, or you see all these soil monoliths. You can find me there. I have office hours listed in the syllabus. I will try my best to keep to. Otherwise, feel free to stop by anytime. We are an in-person class with some Zoom flexibility. So if you remember from registering, you would see we have this section number 1, the in-person class, but also an online section. The online section was set up specifically for students in Twin Falls doing like a 2+2 dual enrollment plan with the College of Southern Idaho. That's what the online class is for. That's why we have the Zoom going in the first place. But ever since COVID, ever since I was, my experience taking classes, now having a Zoom option for when you're sick or when you miss, it's so worth doing. It's not hard for me to set up a Zoom recording and have recordings available after class. So these will always be an option for our lectures. The Zoom is integrated through Canvas pretty nicely. This was kind of new last year. If you go back to Canvas now. We just have a Zoom tab right here. I'm not sure if other classes really use this. I haven't seen any of it in classes I've taken, but it's just a Zoom tab on the Canvas where you can join each lecture meeting as it comes up, and then cloud recordings here will show the playback of lecture if you miss it. So let me know if that's ever not working, or if you can't see recordings, or if like the sound or the video isn't being saved. But that's our plan. I certainly prefer to deliver these lectures when I have a living and breathing audience. If everybody starts joining on Zoom, I will have a little bit less fun. So I encourage you, students here in Moscow, to keep coming to class, but the Zoom is always here for a little more flexibility. Accommodates our distance learning for Twin Falls. Accommodation 2, lab activities are a little bit different. The reason we can't have a pedology class that's totally purely online, well, we could for the lecture component. The lab component is much harder to replicate to give you these really valuable practical skills of soil description from a virtual activity. I'm not planning to do that for any of you guys. We're here together. We can work together in the field. But the Twin Falls have accommodations for their field trips. So we have Twin Falls based field trips that we're planning out for everybody joining from there. We have a small prerequisite for this class listed in the catalog. I think Soil 205 and 206 is our intro soils lab and lecture series. Small prerequisites, because it's really good background. We're going to be revisiting quite a few of those topics. You would have maybe talked about soil orders and soil texture and all things like that. If you are a grad student in this class, you might not have taken an intro soils lab. That's okay. We can trust you guys to keep up and ask questions and have an interest in pedology and soil science beyond the intro level, at least. We have a recommended textbook in the syllabus. This one is called Soil Genesis and Classification. I say it's a recommended textbook. I'm not going to require you to go out and buy it and read in it, but it's still a really great resource for reading and learning about these concepts that we'll talk about in class. If you prefer to have a book resource to follow along with, the link to this is in the syllabus. You can order one, but I will not be assigning any readings out of it. I can read the textbook, tell you guys what I think is important. That's going to work. So I don't require you to buy the textbook. Part of that is there's a lot of great free online resources, including the U of I's very own web pages for all 12 soil orders. We will be exploring those in kind of the later half of the semester, but there's other free resources, including the NRCS field book for describing and sampling soils. Maybe you remember these from intro soils field trips. Links are in the syllabus to request your own physical copy of this. It's free. The NRCS will send it to you. Last year, when we taught this class, these books were not available. They were out of stock, and I wasn't quite sure why that is, because these are really great, really useful resource. Turns out there's a new version of these. So I have version 3. Version 4 has recently been released. I have ordered my own copy. It has not been delivered yet, but we're excited to learn about a new version of the field book. Really helpful resource for describing soil pits. And the next one is the Keys to Soil Taxonomy. This big spiral-bound book is essentially a 400-page flow chart for classifying soil profiles, which we will get plenty of practice with later in the semester. If you don't mind scrolling through a 400-page PDF on your laptop, you can use the free online version at any time. If you would prefer to flip pages as you go, this is also free to request. So in the syllabus, you can find the links. It might take a couple weeks, so if you're interested, if you know you're going to be excited about soil taxonomy and soil description, such as I am, you can order your copy now and have it on all of our field trips. But those will always be there. I can give reminders later on when we're going to start getting into soil taxonomy. You have your own copy of this book. Grading for our class is, I think, pretty standard in my opinion. We're going to have lab activities going out on field trips and in the lab for a portion of your grade, as well as Canvas quizzes I plan to give. Canvas quizzes as a routine to just stay current, stay accountable, give you a little familiarity with questions that I write about our lecture material before you see them on the test. These are labs, Canvas quizzes, and our tests are all worth 150 points. We have 3 tests worth 50 points each. Are going to have our first one towards the end of September, probably the second one before Thanksgiving, and then the third test will be during finals week, kind of partially cumulative. We are scheduled on the finals week schedule for Friday, the last day of finals. My plan is to do test number 3 on Canvas and make it available at the start of finals week. So if you check the schedule and you get a little nervous about what that means for traveling away from Canvas, you have to stay here until Friday. I will not be the reason you have to stay here until Friday. Homework, we have just a couple homework assignments worth about 50 points, kind of meant to be a little extra practice, not really busy work for you guys. And then lastly, the soil pit project that I will talk about more as the semester goes on is worth 100 points for a total of 600. The soil pit project is kind of intended to be the whole semester, the finale of, after going out in our lab field trips to describe soil profiles, I send you guys out into the world with a shovel to a location of your choosing to describe your very own soil pit and make a little poster, make a little summary to bring together everything we learned in this class at a location of your choosing. So more on the soil pit project later. Our labs will be in the soils teaching lab. That's Ag Science 133, same place you would have had your Soil 206 lab. Did most of you guys take Soil 206 here? Would you have had, it's been a while since I've taught Soil 206. I don't think I remember any of you from sections I taught. Would it have been with Samia most recently, probably?
I had me.
Good deal. Okay, so same lab room. It'll be Thursday afternoons. It's scheduled from 1:30 to 5:20. I can promise you now that our indoor lab activities will not take all 4 hours. That long schedule block is pretty useful when we go on field trips, though, if we're driving off campus and coming back. We have typically had in the past some start time conflicts, like a 15-minute overlap with other classes. I think this year I heard from some of you that you have the same situation, classes overlapping with the start of lab. That's okay. We've made it work in the past. When we have labs indoors, that'll be no problem. You can come whenever you get out of your other classes, and we will just start you with the activity. Then when we go on field trips, particularly some longer drives, I might want to coordinate in advance to see if there could be some flexibility of leaving that one early so we can all leave at the start of our lab time on just some of those weeks. But we'll also do our tests in the lab, and no rush on those. So I'm not planning to have difficulties there. We will be indoors for at least the first 3 weeks of lab, including this Thursday. I know there's a range field trip going on, REM 253 this week, and then probably REM 460 later. Is anybody taking 460? I'm happy, you guys. That's okay. This is normal for the fall semester. I don't plan on that being a conflict either. There's definitely workarounds for that. So this Thursday, we're doing an activity. I'm going to call it Lab Zero, just kind of our warm-up introduction to a refresher on soil texturing. And I'm also going to do a virtual field trip for the Palouse, like geology and the Ice Age floods. Probably familiar. I hope Samia still assigned it in Soil 206. If it is, it's going to be the same activity. You could just skip right to the quiz probably and do that. But it's a really good baseline, especially if you didn't take Soil 206 here. It'll get you ready to go and refreshed on what we're about to see on our field trips. So that's this week. Then the next 2 weeks after this week will be more practice, kind of indoor lab activities to warm up with our soil texturing and soil description skills. And then we will start our field trips, hoping for 5 total, kind of depending on the weather. We've been pretty lucky in the past. Our last one is scheduled for the last week of October, so could be kind of iffy then with cold weather or rain. Hoping for the best, we will end up with 5 soil pit field trips for our Thursday labs. We will have 2 tests taking place indoors in the lab. You'll know when those are coming up in advance, and then we'll kind of end the semester with 3 more indoor labs, kind of focused on soil taxonomy and soil classification practicing. With that, are there any questions about our syllabus content, how this class is going to work? Everybody happy? Everybody ready? Ready to talk about soil?
Where do you post your slides?
Oh, yes. Sorry, slides will be on Canvas. I forgot to post today's, and it could be really useful this year with our big black line on the middle of the screen. Thank you, Verdi. I will be posting our lecture slides to Canvas. Anything else before we get started with some soil science definitions, some of our pedology terminology, if you will, starting with pedology itself, the name of this class. What does it all mean? We have this root word ped, meaning ground. Our Greek derivation of the root word means ground. Ped from the Latin also means foot. I think of words like pedestrian or bipedal, pedicure, maybe soils underfoot. Pedology means the study of the formation and the classification of soils. Soil genesis is another word for formation. Soil taxonomy is our classification scheme. And pedology itself is one of the 5 main branches of soil science. You would also maybe take classes in soil chemistry, soil biology, we call it microbial ecology at the U of I, soil physics, soil fertility, and pedology would be the 5 like pillars of soil science. And then now soil itself. The important thing to know about soil is that it is not dirt. Soil is not dirt. Dirt derives from an old Norse word, drit, which literally means filth or shit. Okay, it's a dirty word itself. It's not something useful, you know, something appreciable. Really, it's literally just dirty itself. Whereas soil, on the other hand, from an Old English or more Latin root, meaning something more holistic, like the ground, like the earth. It's the soil that we study. It's not this filthy material. It is just soil out of place. Soil out of place, but what is in place versus out of place? Like those soil monoliths, when we took soil out of the field and put it on the wall, do we have walls covered in dirt now? But they're beautiful. It's a beautiful soil monolith collection. That's not dirt. If you are collecting sample bags in the field to bring back to do a nutrient or maybe a elemental analysis or some kind of chemical lab test on, have you collected bags of dirt? Am I doing my PhD research on buckets of dirt? I wouldn't think so. But I use soil, you know, I take more of a hard line approach rather than the dictionary. I do not use dirt. In fact, I call it the D word. This is the most you will ever hear me say the word dirt in one lecture right now. I prefer to say there's mud on my boots, or I'm driving on an unpaved road if there's no asphalt or gravel. There's sediment on the floor. But perhaps the most practical definition I've heard someone say is that when we're analyzing, describing, or interpreting the soil, we call it soil. If you're just moving it from one place to another, you can call it dirt. That's okay with me. So to each their own. To each their own on soil versus dirt, but I hopefully will, over the course of this semester, increase your appreciation for soil and decrease your utilization of the D word. So if that's all what soil is not, if we're talking about definitions of dirt, what actually is soil though? How do we as soil scientists, rather than dictionary writers, describe soil? Soil is the unconsolidated material on the outermost layer of Earth's crust. So this is kind of differentiating it from bedrock and just saying it's the ground, the outermost layer of solid crust material that makes up Earth. And it results from the interaction of climate, organisms, and topography acting on some parent material over time. These 5 concepts here will provide us with weeks of lecture content. This is going to be a big feature of our lecture schedule. These 5 factors for creating soil. So we've got unconsolidated material. We've got these 5 interactions. It has to differ from geological material in that it supports plant life. So soils have to be able to grow plants. Soil itself has biological activity and contains carbon. So unconsolidated material, Earth's crust, all these things that does well to describe what we could go outside and all agree on is soil. But there's always going to be some edge cases that kind of complicate our definition. I think about like beach sand. Is beach sand soil? Unconsolidated. There's an interaction of forces and factors on it. Does it support plant life? You can have plants growing on the beach. When you think about the textural triangle, you remember our textural triangle of sand, silt, and clay, there is a category that's 100% sand. So if you had 100% sand, that can still be soil. I might say yes, beach sand can be soil, beach soil. What about like wetlands, tidal marshes? Does that count as soil? Maybe it's more natural, supports more plants, but is it consolidated or unconsolidated to the point of being soil? Perhaps. What about potting soil? You can,
dirt.
it could be. It says soil on the bag, but depends on its ingredients. Is it made of something organic? Is it actually mineral material, or is it more like growth medium? Might be what I call it, or soil on other planets. This is our definition of soil on Earth, of Earth's crust. Other planets, we would say regolith. Maybe not containing carbon or biological activity as far as we know, the soils of the moon or Mars. But if I ever had the opportunity one day to teach pedology on another planet, I would be happy to amend this definition. But for now, we are just going to talk about Earth soils in this class. We will revise that as needed. So here's our soil definition. How are we going to see soils in the field? Our next definition is the pedon. A pedon is kind of our unit of sampling soils, defined as the smallest volume, large enough to represent the nature and arrangement of soil horizons, as well as variability in other soil properties. So in this one little cross section here, there may be multiple pedons to describe that all contain slightly different, but generally similar features. It represents the range of variability. Most commonly, our unit of observation, sampling, or classification of the soil, think the face of the soil pit where you are describing. We would call that the pedon. Something that is hard for even me to remember and appreciate is that a pedon is three-dimensional as opposed to just the 2D soil profile that we look at. Soil continues in 3 dimensions, even though when you excavate to expose a profile, you're kind of looking at it as a 2D surface. Well, actually, it is a 3-dimensional profile. Most importantly, it just represents the range of variability. So really what an individual unit, an individual section of a profile maybe that can be reasonably described with the same description without kind of repeating the same features. You could take multiple pedons together and we would group those into a soil series. Soil series or perhaps soil type. Polypedon is kind of falling out of fashion. We don't really, soil scientists don't really talk about polypedon anymore. But as far as what an actual soil type is, it's a little ambiguous sometimes if you're doing research across different landscapes and the soil type changes. Are you talking about a mollisol soil order versus maybe an alphasol soil order? Is that the soil type? The texture maybe, I think from my perspective as a pedologist, the best definition of soil type is the individual soil series that we describe or interpret from soil maps. Soil series itself is a natural body with a distinct and specified range in characteristics. So you don't have to have one single description match every single possible description of that soil series in order for it to be classified the same. There's some flexibility, a range in characteristics that will be described, where you can still have slightly different features still be described together, just like within the pedon. There may be slightly different features that we still appreciate as one soil or soil type. Example of this soil series are Palouse silt loam, one we love, one we know and love here on the Palouse of North Idaho. That is an example of our soil series, and also the unit of soil mapping. If you remember from web soil survey activities, if you're familiar at all, these are the polygons that are drawn on the map for individual soil series. There could be more though. Soil maps can be a little more complicated. But in general, this is our unit of soil mapping. This will be our first lecture topic on Thursday. We'll get into the master horizons then. But those are the definitions I wanted to start us out today on day one. Any other questions for our first meeting together? I should mention that I will have a little bit of help in the lab sections. I'm planning to have Logan Mann, a pedology class alum from last year, be our kind of informal TA to help me run the field trips to transport everybody there. We'll take U of I 12 passenger vans generally when we do field trips. If you need to travel separately for lab field trips, that's okay. Let me know ahead of time so I can let you know where we're going, where to meet us, when to be there. That works, but transportation will be provided. Logan's not here. I will have Logan give an introduction when he does join us. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward to the semester, you guys. It's really fun to be up here. I'm kind of sweating because it's warm in here, but I'm also just really thrilled to have this opportunity again. With that, I think we're good to go. We'll meet back here on Thursday. Let's talk about Master Horizons. Will, could you hear us online?
Yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, or you can figure something to say.
Can you hear me?
So, I have another field trip, you know, which is, and
Yes.
they're hiring me to drive for them.
Okay.
So I don't know if anything can happen for this, did you guys need anyone for the soil field trip?
It could be good. It's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we could hire you or pay you to do it.
Okay, because I know you have to be University Idaho,
Like certified.
sure, I mean, I am certified, but you have to be a working, you have to work at it.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys have any class funding left over, like $2 an hour for driving, I'd be fine with that or anything like that, you know?
Okay. I will keep that in mind.
Okay.
I'll make a note.
Yeah.
We will see. So we might have, we had like 16 or 17 in the lab, which we should be able to cover with 2 drivers, but
Okay.
It's good to know who's got the,
Yeah.
the qualification.
Yeah, because I am getting paid for the portion of the driving, so I don't know if you guys did that or not, but that was just my thing.
Very cool. Thanks for
Reverse. Thank you. Have a great day.
Like the same, like I've had any of it out because their
Nice to meet
pencils a little bit more sensitive.
I'm gonna meet all my advice.
This is the Surface
I
Pro.
really like this class, I just Need to see if I can connect it in.
But yeah,
like the higher specs.
So I will let you know by the end of the week if that sounds good.
Who is your advisor?
Kindle Call.
Really?
Yes,
They
yeah,
got
I'm
like
having an
sausage
enterprise grad
and
student,
stuff.
so that's
Yeah.
exciting.
And are you gonna be based here in Moscow?
Comes with the pencil and the
Yes,
keyboard.
yeah. I mean,
It's
my
like pretty over if
research
you
is
want
kind
it.
of
Yeah,
scattered
maybe
around,
it's
like
like,
Washington,
yeah,
Oregon, Idaho, so.
Okay.
You're trying to do that, and then like.
Are
within
you,
even,
so
like,
you
the
on like
sketching-
agricultural project?
Within like
Yeah,
SketchUp, I
it's,
think is really good within.
It's like a cover crop trial
Okay.
project. Yeah, so, yeah.
Sketchbook within, like this is pretty,
focused.
pretty good app.
Yeah,
too,
but
within.
my office
So
is
there's,
actually in
like,
this building.
It's all like, you know,
with-
hard, it's like,
I don't know if you know,
pressure
Candy
sensitive.
and Polina.
so if you wanna shade.
I do know that.
Okay,
And, like,
You're on
I'm
the-
in that
Sometimes
little
they're
office
really
with the engineer
Versus-
first.
Versus like,
Yeah, so I
the whole
just
thing you have to
used
turn
it,
over.
but
Okay, I don't
So
think,
right
I know,
now,
I
it's
have,
optimized,
yes, I have it.
like this, like on top, so you can.
It's like 81.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like, one,
Yeah,
like when
so
I
that's
got
where
it,
I
so
am.
many.
But are you based
Save
in-
mine for 12 inch.
Over-
Exciting.
Mine only
Okay,
came out
cool.
the 13 something. whatever.
Right,
But
well, yeah,
this
I'm
is
gonna meet
cool
with
because
you
you can
today and make
layer
sure
it, so you can
that
take out
I'm
like
not over.
this on this. So I think this app, if your
I
sketching
will,
is pretty good.
but-
So like,
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Is this?
I mean, it sounds
every
good.
semester or is it just in the?
Yeah,
Fall
so that's,
only.
that's a
Okay.
good, that's a
And
good
so,
sketch. Yeah,
this
that's why I
might
got it.
be
So, like, oh, what
My
Google.
last fall teaching it.
Oh,
So
right.
I'm not
So it
sure
has,
what
like,
the
I
final
think-
mediation.
Okay.
iPad Pro is
Okay.
like, those are both
Okay.
competitors.
Let her know if that-
Whatever
if
your
that
system
changes
is,
it.
what you
Yeah,
have
yeah,
on it,
totally.
so
Okay,
I
thank
just
you
get
so
that.
much.
I just
Yeah,
have
see ya.
everything cohesive. I don't, so why would I get Apple then, even if it's like 5 points on the app rating scale being better, because the pencil page is better. But this one, this is like a sketching pencil, which pairs with this, and it's like the 4000 nib sensitivity.